Prosecutors said of Silk Road, and I quote, "The site enabled thousands of drug dealers to expand their markets from the sidewalk to cyberspace," end quote. Was this the linchpin of the government's case, that because Obert used the internet, he was able to influence and in some cases harm more people?
Yes, but you have to understand that most of the underground economy, whether it's narcotics trafficking to weapons trade, is now moving through the dark web itself. And the deep web contains dozens of forums similar to Silk Road, like Verified and Lampedusa, that allow you to trade in not just drugs or child pornography or weapons, but also trade in cyber weapons that would allow you to hack organizations and businesses.
Does he deserve 20 years or more?
I think so, given the fact that he is participating in a large volume of narcotics trafficking, money laundering, and other things based on the allegations, based on the conviction. There needs to be a clear message to the underground economy, which is flourishing right now, that you cannot transact in these forums without fear of prosecution. Interpol itself has redefined itself recently to create a cybercrime fusion center in Singapore to coordinate international law enforcement efforts for just this purpose.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that, yes, it would send a strong message, but right when Silk Road was shut down, Silk Road 2.0 came up right away, right? So
very true. It's whack-a-mole, to be honest with you. We need to understand that in the end, we need to start targeting the money and the finances of these individuals. They're laundering most of the proceeds of cybercrime and drugs through disintermediated anonymous payment systems. They're not laundering these funds through the financial sector itself. We need to become very aware that these systems exist that allow for this trade.
Mr. Kellermann, speaking of funds, is this case also an indictment of Bitcoin?
No, I don't know if it necessarily is an indictment of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one of about 200 digital currencies or anonymous payment systems that exist. Bitcoin is not the most widely used anonymous payment system out there that for cybercrime or for the trade of narcotics. There are others. We need to pay attention to the fact that there are shadow economies, arms bazaars of weapons and drugs that exist in Eastern Europe and in South America now that are providing more than just drugs per se to the markets of the world, but actually enabling traditional criminals to have cyber attack capabilities to perpetuate this cyber crime wave we've been experiencing for the last 2 years.
Okay, so then is the federal government in essence giving Bitcoin an implicit stamp of approval, seeing as since it's willing to sell Bitcoin appropriated from Silk Road at auction?
I don't think so. I think there are different factions within the U.S. government that have different perspectives on the viability and legitimacy of Bitcoin. That's for the politicians to decide. But at a minimum, Bitcoin needs to adhere to the FATF principles of know thy customer and collaborating with law enforcement to deal with the phenomenon of rogue actors who use the ecosystem.
Is it getting any easier to find these rogue actors, Tom?
See, that's the rub here. The truth is that criminals and nefarious individuals are joining these cyber guilds of thieves, and they're endowing themselves with capabilities that allow them to become invisible and also omniscient to law enforcement efforts in cyberspace. So it's basically an arms race of technology wherein you have non-sophisticants now basically purchasing the cyber capabilities they need to maintain their anonymity online and to perpetuate these crimes that we see here today.